Let's give Adam a warm welcome.
And thank you very much for having me back. I'm truly honored and humbled to be back at TPSA speaking to you again, and it's really a huge compliment that we were invited. And we're kind of busy doing what we do all day long, like you are, and when we get asked to talk about these things that we're doing, it's great that we get to share it. And I want to start with a little story. And I want you to think about for a moment your dream vacation. This is a little bit about what mine looks like. Can everybody see that in the back? Great. Before, as you're thinking about the dream vacation, I have a question for you. I know it's soothing, and the crystal clear water, and the beautiful pool, and the nice grass roof. But I'm going to bring you back in terms of how many of you currently have employees right now? Show of hands. Okay, great. And how many of you plan on having employees within the next couple of years? Show of hands. Great. And how many of you never ever want an employee for the rest of your life? Pretty much everybody. All right, well, let's go back on vacation, okay? And this is a dream vacation, and why is this important? I want you thinking about your vacation, because one of our long-term clients planned their dream vacation. And 25 years, they got married, and they realized they needed to work and make money, and they never had a chance to go on the honeymoon. So for the last 2 years, after working for 25 years, they finally saved up enough money and got to the place where they had the time. They had an office manager that was their go-to person. It was the husband, a wife, and their one office manager that was kind of the front lines of all the phones, doing all the filing, all the input. Spent 2 years planning this trip. The night before they are scheduled to go on their honeymoon, their office manager was kind enough to send them a text that said, "I quit."
Oh.
And so, suffice to say, they did not get that chance to go on their dream honeymoon and vacation because they couldn't leave their clients without a contact. They couldn't let their phone just ring. They couldn't leave a voicemail. They had cases that were pending that needed to get done. So they were crushed. And so what I'm going to talk to you about today are some of the ways to prevent this. And in speaking with some of you last night and today in terms of your stories, I asked what are some of your stories about employees or issues that you've had with employees? And last night I heard we've had people that have come in drunk, and I get it. I've been there. We've got people that have come in late, that they have stolen, they've not showed up for work, they've been rude to their clients, they've lost business because they've stolen business, away from them. There's a number of horror stories. And for those of you that have employees, I'm sure that you can relate to them. And some of you don't have them, they're there. And so that's why I'm sharing this process with you today. And I'll tell you, at our company, we don't always get it right. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. But this comes from 14 years of refining our process to try and get the best team. And the nice gentleman over there just said that he interacts with our team on a regular basis and just what nice people they are. And we're blessed. And we are very, very fortunate because of the incredibly bright, smart, hardworking, fun, and wonderful people that we get to work with every single day. And what I'm going to share with you today are some of those things that we use to get these people into our environment. And some of you that don't have employees yet, I recognize that's a daunting task, and I'm just trying to make it through the week and make it through this conference and figure out how I'm going to be here and serve papers and get business and keep track of everything. And I've got a family and all those things. I get it. We've been there. I mean, we started our business with no money in a dark, moldy garage, just two of us in the back of a friend's house, sleeping on concrete, sleeping under desks, doing everything we needed to do to get by. And we took every dollar that we made and put it right back into the business. And now we've got a team and a wonderful environment. And like I said, we don't get it right all the time, But these are the things that we've learned along the way that I want to share with you. Just so you know, just as a note, some of the things for your jurisdiction, you want to make sure you check with the laws and the legality of it for your jurisdiction. Hiring practices, vary and rules vary. For example, in Colorado, where our main office is, it's a very employer-friendly state. In California, where I'm out of, we have another small office. It's not. It's a very employee-friendly state, and they have a lot of rights. So you want to make sure that you're kind of checking in and making sure, before you're implementing and executing on these things, you're looking at. So here's the first rule. And what I mean by this is, for those of you who have employees, or those who have employee turnover for our clients, that needed to fill that, they realized, okay, we need to fill this role as quickly as we can. You cannot be desperate. You have to be slow in the process. And you cannot just hire out of desperation because you need it. Oh, I just got this big client. I need these papers served. You know what? I need a body in here. That body can cost you. That body can cost you that biggest client. That body can cost you a lawsuit. That body can cost you a lot of things. So take your time to make sure you get the right person in there. I got that little turbo rocket ship on the back of the turtle because when you realize you got the wrong person, you got to move fast. And one of my personal regrets I have, not only in my personal life in terms of staying in personal relationships too long, but also in work relationships, is letting somebody stay at the company that we knew that should have been there. For those of you that have employees, I'm sure everybody can attest to a situation where they know they've got the wrong person at the company, and they've been slow to get it out because the pain of getting that person out of there is too traumatic. And so, every time we try and get a little bit better about it, you've got to, when you recognize it, you've got to move faster. Just starting from last night, the last 4 years, they've had 4 different people running their phones, and even though we're in there, cost them money. They should have been able to figure that out much faster. And so, with some of the stuff we've talked about today, hopefully you'll have that knowledge and that foresight. As well as when you're bringing on that first employee, that daunting task of bringing on that first employee, these tools are going to give you that will help you get through that process. We've always, every single time we've had been turnover, sometimes it feels like it's personal, sometimes you're doing something wrong. People leave. People should leave. People should go out and experience life. And if your environment is the best fit for them, they should go find another one. And sometimes what's been amazing is because of our process, we've had people, it's called a boomerang. They leave, they realize the grass is not always greener on the other side, and they come back. And so I want to share this just so you have an idea of some of these processes. All right, so I'm going to throw this out to you. By the way, there are prizes. Anyone have any idea what it costs to do this? Throw out some numbers.
$23.
100.
Overall, the entire process to recruit, hire, and train an employee.
$1,000. 25,000.
12,000. All right, you were the closest, right here. Starbucks or Subway? Subway. $10 gift card. Well done. All right, was $10,000. This is an $8 an hour employee. Okay? That's the cost. And this comes from the Sasha Corporation from a study that they did. This is not a cheap exercise or a cheap venture. And so you've got to take it seriously. So as I mentioned, our team, some of them are here today. We've got 20-odd employees between our Denver and our Los Angeles office and a couple folks kind of scattered through the country. These are a couple of their faces. Here they are in our Denver office having a Friday lunch, which is something that we do with the team, and obviously, not everybody's there. But these are just some pictures of our team, and I'm sharing them with you so you get a sense of, kind of who we are. So here are your goals, okay? Here are my goals when I'm hiring, because I hate hiring. Now, I've got some nasty words. I'm not going to share them here because my mother would be upset, but I got some nasty words for what I refer to HR as. But I'll tell you, your goals are to spend the least amount of time and getting the highest quality employee, okay? Because you can spend a lot of time in the process for anyone who's done it. So that's what you always want to be thinking about. That's what we're thinking about. And we've wasted a lot of time on this over the years. And with a team our size, you can imagine, there's still pieces that go into it, but we've cut down that time that we're spending on it. So think about that. So how do we do it? Firstly, it all starts with this ad that we write. And we spend a lot of time putting together an ad that properly describes the company. So this we're going to get into the how-to, all right? So sharpen the pencils because this is where we're going to get into the crux of it. So the ad. We're very serious. We're honest about what it is that we do. We try and give them some background on the company and our culture. And very specifically, what I mean by that is we talk about it's work. We know it's work. We don't want it to feel like work every single second of the day. But that's the type of culture that we want to have. That we tell them about where we're located. We tell them about the role. We're honest about the role. And meaning, when we were in a dark, moldy garage, when we needed help, I wish I would have known what to say that we were in a dark, moldy garage because we wasted a lot of time trying to be a bigger company than we actually were. And so, being honest about yourself. If you're a road warrior working out of your car, tell them, I need your remote, or I need you in the car next to me, or I need you in the office in my house, or wherever it is that you need them. Be honest and be very, very specific, about what it is that you're looking for. Ask yourself, what are the important characteristics of the type of person that you want to work with, and what you think is important for the role. I mean, depending on who you're hiring, I've got some great suggestions. I'm sure you do. But you want to make sure you're thinking about those and put as much detail in there. I go through Craigslist and I see ads of what other people are putting in there for the job. We need somebody, $12 an hour starting next Thursday. Who are you going to get? You're going to get somebody that doesn't care about who you are or what you do. And our process is very different. And I'll tell you why our process is different. But we get very, very specific on the details of the ad so we can give them as much information because I don't want to waste time. When we first started, we didn't put compensation in there because we wanted to see, if they were going to put a high or low compensation. And now you have these people that are way out of our price range, that don't fit. So we list the compensation range and we put things in there like, based BOE, based on experience in terms of when we put the compensation range in there. So that there is a little bit of a range so that people aren't wasting their time and we're not wasting our time looking at them. Spend a lot of time on this. All right, so here is test number 1. And this whole process we're testing. And we explain this to candidates as we are hiring and interviewing you just as much as you should be hiring and interviewing us. And so this is the first test. And everything that we're doing, remember, reducing the time we spend on this, getting the best, highest quality employee. All right, so here's what we ask in that ad, and this is one of the most important things that we've done, is we ask them in the ad, after we've given a whole description of who we are as a company, what we do, skills that are qualifications and skills and what you're specifically going to be doing and all this great stuff about the company, we put a sentence on there to respond to this ad. Please respond. We ask for 4 things, okay? A resume, a reason why you're a fit for this position and for the company, your current and past compensation, as well as we ask them to leave a phone message on a designated line that we've set up. And I'm going to go through the reason why we ask for each of these things, okay? We ask for the resume, obviously we want to see their background. We want to see how long their stints are, meaning if every role that they've had has been 6 months or 4 months or 2 months, for the last 12 years, well, they're a career hopper. You're going to get them in, you're going to spend all this money teaching them about service of process and taxes filing and the courts and everything, and then 6 months they're going to be like, well, you know what? I don't like it. So, we're trying to profile these prospective candidates. So we're looking on there, and do they have experience that relates to what it is that we do? Do they have any law experience, or are they a paralegal, or anything related to the courts, or customer service, or anything that relates to this? How much can you teach? How much do they need to know coming in? So that's the first thing we look for in the resume. We also look at formatting in the resume in terms of are there typos, are there grammar issues? Are they skipping over? Can they properly format a document? Because you know what? They can't probably format their resume. What do you think they're going to do when they're sending off documents to your most prized possession, your clients? Right? They're going to mess it up. The next thing is their current and past compensation, because I want to know what their compensation range is, because I want to know what they were earning so we can see if they were a fit. And sometimes you get people, especially over the last couple of years, that are highly talented people that were making a lot more money, and they've been out of work for 6, 8, 12 months, and they're willing to take less. I still want to know what that compensation was. The third thing is the reason why they're a fit. And I know I'm a little bit out of order. But I ask this because I don't want somebody that's just looking for any job. We want somebody that's looking for a career and a career at our company. So if they respond and all they're talking about is you can tell it's very general and they haven't taken time to look at what we do, that's not interesting to me. I want somebody that's doing their due diligence and learning and understanding about the company because we put it out there and we give links and we give enough information. And I want them to be thinking about what their skills are that would make them a good fit for the company. So I look for that as a description, as it's generic. They're just looking for a job. I don't want somebody that wants a job. I want somebody that's going to be in our company for a long time and build a career there. So we look for that. And then the phone message. This phone message is crucial. So we set up a separate line that just says, thank you for your application. Thank you for applying for the role at our company. Please leave a message. And the message is, also why you're a fit, and just some details. Just tell us why you're fit for the role. And again, it's really generic. And sometimes it's scripted, which I actually like when it's scripted because it means that they're taking it seriously and putting the time in. But I'll tell you why this is so important. Because this is all part of our first test. So next question: of 100 applicants, how many people do you think do all 4 steps in the process? Throw it out there. 5, 10.
12.
Who said 2? 2? Mr. Thomas. 97% fail to do all 4 steps in that process. Starbucks or Subway. All right. 97% fail. You know what that does for me? Fantastic. Why? Because of 100 applicants, I have to look at 3 of them. Okay? 3 of them. What I used to do was we get 100 resumes in, I'd look at every single one of them, and I'm looking at print. I can tell nothing. Okay? I can tell nothing by, I can tell very little by what's written on a resume and a cover letter. Okay? Very little. I now have 4 criteria points that I can make my decision on. Okay? And what I get to do is 100 applicants, which would have taken me hours, if not days, to go through. I go and I listen to 3 voicemails. Okay? I get to hear how they sound. I get to hear if they're professional. When I hear that voicemail while I'm listening to it, I go to another screen, I pull up their resume, I pull up their cover letter, I pull up their compensation. And I've now got the first 3 candidates I'm looking at 100. This right here, just that simple little test, saved you days. And you know what? If your prospective employees can't follow 4 steps, what I call on the first date, okay? What do you do on the first date?
Your best friend.
How much money you have, the car you drive, how much you work out, how fantastic you are, okay? This is the first date, okay? This is the first date. If they can't get it right, if they can't follow 4 simple and 4. They can't follow 4 simple instructions on the first date, okay? How do you think they're going to do in your company? When you're sending them off in all these directions, filing, calls coming in, all those things, okay? They're trying their hardest. Forget once they've checked out 6 months into the role on cruise control, surfing the web all day, okay? They're not going to get it. So this is super important. All right, so test number 2. So now we drill down. And we get some roles where we've got hundreds of applicants to these roles, okay? Hundreds. So you can imagine the time that goes into the process to do it properly. Because we can't just put it on the back burner, we can't just take the first person that shows up and, has a pulse. That is, has a pulse and wants a job, and we've got to do this right. Because we've got bigger plans. So the second test is we set up a Google Doc questionnaire. Okay, this is free to use. It takes a little time to set up, but it's a free tool that you can use, and we set up a questionnaire. Okay, and we send this out to all the candidates. So let's assume that those three, we only got 100 applicants, and those three all did all four things. They all sounded good, and we like what we saw in there. We're going to move those three on to the next step. Okay, and so we're going to send them this, and you probably can't see. Can you guys see the small print over here in the back? No, okay. So I'll read it. So congratulations, you fulfilled the requirements listed in the current ad. You'd be surprised how many applicants did not follow directions. I was. Sounds like you guys were too. We'd like to get to know you a little bit more about you before scheduling a second round phone interview. So please fill out the following form and submit before 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Thursday, June 7th, in order to be considered for further review. And one more thing, when answering these questions, be yourself. Don't simply write what you think we want to hear. Okay, we're trying, and you see that that's written, trying to be friendly, in line with our culture in terms of who we are people. But there's also a little test in there in terms of a deadline. And what this allows us to do is, so if you look over here on the right-hand side, okay, this gives you, the format. So we can see all the applicants' responses side by side and benchmark. And just like dating, it's easy to forget how wonderful or terrible this person is because you just want to make an immediate connection. And so this gives you the ability to compare those side by side right next to them. This is a free tool in Google, and you can just go in there, settle a form, send the link out, and you can send all these applicants. And like I said, you get to the next step. Guess what? We've got a test in there. 7 p.m. Did they meet that deadline? Can they meet a deadline? How are they, are they following the further instructions in terms of what they need to be doing for the role? Yes, sir.
Does that text come with the Google Doc, or is that your text?
We wrote that. So, but you can certainly use it, or if you want a copy of this, we can send you a copy of it. I'll give you my contact information at the end. Yeah, no, we wrote this, and we write the questions in there. You're going to want to make them specific in terms of what it is that you think is important for the role. Please provide your full name, your phone number. Why should we hire you over other applicants? That's a question that we ask. And it's, is there a right answer to that? Absolutely not. We just want to know how they think. We want to get to know them and understand. And there are some other questions in there about, what can you do depending on the role. E.g., do you have a car? You have a license? Can you drive? Do you have insurance? You ever served process before? So these are the things that we put in here and we can share with you, and I'd be happy to share that after. All right, so test number 3. Okay, so assuming we're still working with those same 3, and obviously we like the options to be, we like there to be more options in there, but we've got those same 3. So then the next test number 3 is, we set the quick phone call, okay? And this is a quick 15-minute call. And what we're doing is we are just getting another phase of getting to know them, okay? So on that call, we'll schedule a time. We will ask them, this is important, to call us, okay? Again, I am testing diligence. There's nothing more important to what we do than diligence. Same thing with you, okay? If they don't have diligence and attention to detail, they can't be in your business. It's not going to work. So we ask them to call a specific time. If they don't call at a specific time, okay, they fail. We ask them very, very quickly in terms of how, and this gauges how prepared they are for the conversation. Tell us. Thank you so much for being available. We take the hiring process very seriously. We're interviewing you and testing you just as much as you should be interviewing and testing us. That said, I've taken the time to review your background and find out whatever I can, look at the companies where you've worked, or your resume, and tell me, what do you know about myself or anything about the company? And if they don't know anything, that's a problem. They're not prepared. They're not prepared for the most important date or the most important sale that they can make for themselves, and guess what? They're not going to be prepared for your customers. So that's the first question. And then we're also looking for things like, are they calling from a cell phone? Are they calling while they're driving? Are they calling from a busy environment? Is it clear that they're doing other things? How prepared are they for this? Because again, if they're not prepared, they're not going to be prepared when you set them free with your clients and your cherished customers. So quick call, again, moving them on to the next round. Okay? If they don't know what we do, if they aren't prepared, if they're calling from a busy environment, or they're driving, oh, I'm sorry, I keep getting cut off. I can't tell you how many people called me. They're driving for a job interview, and then they lose cell signal because they're driving somewhere. Okay? What does that tell me about it? Tell me they're not going to make it in our environment, and they shouldn't make it in yours. So we get rid of it. All right. Test number 4. All part of the process. So they passed through all these rounds, okay, and now we're getting closer. And now we send them out an application because we want to know a little bit more about them, some more details. We ask them if it's okay if we run a pre-employment screen. So what we do is we send them an email that says, please complete this application, and you can scan or email it to us. And I put in a local fax number to my office in Los Angeles. Not a toll-free number that's in my signature, but a local fax number. Again, I'm checking to see if they can follow instructions, okay? So if they send it out to our toll-free fax number, they haven't followed instructions. If they haven't completed it, they haven't followed instructions. Okay, so when I get that back, what I'm looking for to see is another test, because I get a better sense of who these people are. I get to see their penmanship. I get to see their work, what they write on there. I get to see about it. We ask if they have any, any legal issues, or sorry, they've been convicted of a felony, and we get all the references in terms of their past employers and compensation, all this stuff, on a signed agreement. So it gets us to see, obviously, a little bit more. It gets another test to see if they follow the instructions we sent to the right place. But it also gives us a good gauge. And we get some people that are, I don't have a fax machine, or I don't have a scanner. And I say to them, well then, and I say very nicely, I don't have a job for you, okay? You can't figure out in the interview process where a Kinko's is located, or your friend's scanner, okay? If you don't have the judgment and the instinct to know that that's a stupid question to ask, and 2, that you can't have the wherewithal to figure that out on your own, you're not going to survive. We can't have robots in our company that can't think for themselves. Okay, so this is just another test in the process. All right, so then we do, and this is a big process, I get it. So then we move on to the phone interview. Okay, this is about 1 hour long is this phone interview. Okay, I get it. It's hard just hearing about it, let alone doing it. Okay? But this is what we do to ensure, to do our best to get the best possible person in the role. Okay, so this is where we deep dive in terms of who this person is, where they're from, I want to know where you're raised, okay? Tell me about your upbringing. The roles that you walk us all the way through your roles in terms of how you got to this place in every job that you've ever done. And we're looking for culture fit. We're looking for judgment. We're looking for work ethic in terms of things that make them stand out as being exceptional, or things where they've gone the extra distance. We ask them things about what they've done to save time. Okay? Things that we think are important for the role. These are things you want to be thinking about in terms of what you need. And something in our company we have what we call MATV. MATV stands for meticulous attention to detail. And these are the types of things that we're trying to figure out if these people have it. Next, believe it or not, there's more in the process. We bring them in for an in-person interview. Okay? Another test. The footer has our mailing address. The email says, please come to our office located at this. Okay? If they show up at the mailbox where we get our mail, they didn't read the instructions. Okay? And I will tell you, we actually did hire someone that showed up at the mailbox, and she was terrific. So, as a disclaimer to that one little test, she was great. But, again, we're testing. Can they follow those instructions? It is so important for us. It's so costly when people don't follow instructions. I know it is in your business as well. So, that's why we're doing all this test for it. Are they dressed? Are they prepared? Are they in time? What's their body language? So when they show up at the office, LA, we have a very small office. We still kind of take them on the tour, and it's kind of a joke. Okay, look around. That's the tour. Denver, we've got a bigger space and a lot more safe. Take them around, introduce them to the other people that are there. Sit them down. We treat them very often with something to drink, they want snacks. Very, very nice to them. And then we bring in other colleagues to come in and talk to them as well, to get a better understanding. Again, in-person interview, sometimes you see things in an in-person interview that you don't get on the phone interview. So that's why we take the time to bring them in. All right, then we make the offer. They've gone through this whole process, and our offer letter is, okay, first we send out an offer letter that we actually worked on with our council to have all the details that should be in there. Like I said, California is a very litigious state from a labor perspective, so we have to be very careful. Colorado is not as much, so I don't know exactly about Texas. But so we put together an offer letter that outlines all the details, the role description, the title, when they're going to be starting, that this is probationary, anything else we're going to be offering. Then, after we have that back, we send them a full agreement. It has non-disclosure, non-compete, all of the legal jargon from employment. There's a number of templated items out there that you can use. I would strongly encourage you to look carefully at the process. You cannot just assume that, oh, they're a nice person, they're great, let's just bring them in and hire them. It gets started without any sort of written communication. I've seen people get into a lot of trouble because of that, especially with independent contractor and W-2 disputes and all of the details of it. I'm sure you guys have plenty of conversations about the independent contractor disputes and matters and audits, and they're not fun to go through and they're costly. The third thing that we do is we do due diligence. We do a pre-employment screen. We check their existing references that they provided. We also check personal references. And yes, it's a formality. They've gone through this whole process. Why do we care? Okay, if they're already out of there, because we want to learn. So a prior reference might be able to tell us what are their skills, what are they good at, what are they bad at, where can they improve if they need it. I mean, you're only really supposed to ask, did they work there? Yes. For how long? This long. How much were they paid? X. Great. I just want to confirm. If they are amenable to talking more, we'll ask them. Tell us, what was it like working with so-and-so? How was he as an employee? What were his strengths? What were her strengths? Where can they improve? So it's great intelligence so that you can help structure them when they come in there. If they've got an area that they need improvement, you already know it. You can focus on it and help nurture them. It is unbelievable to me what roommates and friends, how much they will throw their closest friend under a bus. Okay? I cannot believe the stuff that their friends will tell them about the applicant for the role. Oh, he was so drunk, he's terrible, the biggest thing is he oversleeps. I mean, you can't imagine the knowledge you get from just taking that time. And I promise you, this is the last thing I want to be spending my time on. But you can't imagine the intelligence that you get from picking up the phone and making a call. Okay, the other thing we ask for are pay stubs. Why? Did they lie to us at the beginning? We had an applicant that came all the way through this whole painful, time-consuming process, and then we asked them for their pay stubs, and he was slow, I don't know if I have them, and then finally we get them, and I say, well, listen, you want the job, we need the pay stubs, it's part of the process. The compensation that they made was far less than the compensation that they listed in the application process, and on the application, when they left the first message or the first response, and on the application that they filled out. Guess what? We just found a liar. Okay? We don't want liars in our company. So we had the painful conclusion of having to start over, go back to the beginning and start the process over. But you know what? That saved us a ton because I don't want to be lied to, and I don't want our clients being lied to. So that's one of the things why all of these steps are super important in the process. All right. So these are the things that you want to make sure that you're looking for in terms of when you're going through your due diligence. And good thing for all of us, we're at the end of the hiring process. You got it. You got your dream perfect employee that's passed through the test and can follow your instructions. All right, so now we're going to move on to keeping them. You got them. They're happy. They work it out though. Everyone's happy it worked out. It is mind-blowing to me, and I don't know how they've done this, but people wait in line for 6 hours to pay retail for something. and everybody is happy about it. It's genius. I don't know how they've done it. I mean, everyone at Apple's happy. If you've ever been to an Apple store, well, unless you've got one of the new ones that bend, but I guess that you can just make them more efficient. So, happy. Okay. Unbelievable. So, how do you keep this? And companies like Apple have thought really long and hard. It wasn't just a fluke that they got people waiting for 6 hours in line, paying retail, not a sale, not half off, not free, retail for something, and loving, so happy, that they're doing it. I just heard somebody yesterday, they went to Franklin's Barbecue. They waited 3 hours in line for barbecue in Austin. Okay, and they were happy to wait in line for 3 hours. That's amazing to me, to pay retail for something. It's amazing when a company can create that. So, this is something that we try and do in terms of thinking about our employees. What can we do to keep them happy? And the first thing that we start with is compensation. Now, we don't have all the money in the world, okay? I mean, you heard where we started. Every dollar is important to us. And we don't pay the top dollars. We can't afford to. So we need really good, highly talented people. We have to pay them what we can afford to pay them. And so, we're conscientious and aware of compensation. But what we do is a way to stay on top of that is we offer something called a quarterly bonus. And for those of you that have employees, you probably if you pay a bonus, you probably do it at the end of the year, right? Around Christmas? Yes? No?
No,
Okay.
we do quarterly bonuses.
Quarterly bonus, great. Okay.
And the end of the year as well.
And the end of the year, wow.
Yeah.
You hiring?
Always looking for good service.
Okay. I'm going to polish my resume up. So, now that I know the process. So, quarterly bonus. Why? Because we go through the entire year with an employee and say, remember back in January, December wasn't great, in March, that was really good, and then July, we had that issue again. 6 months ago, it's insulting, okay? So we have a quarterly bonus structure. Everyone that's not in business development, they're on monthly. Everybody in the company has a quarterly bonus. And it forces us to have ongoing communication and dialogue with them in terms of how are they doing. This is not just you're doing this, it's how are we doing as a company? What else can we do to make your role better? What can we provide as a company? How can we help? Are there educational tools that we can provide that can make you more successful in your role? So it's a 360 in terms of how are we doing, but it forces the conversation every 90 days to get feedback because it's so easy to get into a rut of, all right, January's here, and before you even blink your eyes, it's December. Okay, so it forces us to have those conversations and align those priorities. And what we find is that the ongoing communication that we have with people really helps with the company and the culture. People want to know what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, and when they say, I think one of the number one reasons why people leave a company isn't because they're not making enough money. Because they don't have an environment where they're being challenged, where there's communication, where there's opportunity. It's not because they're not making enough money. Okay? So this is why it's so important to be communicating with your employee and setting the structure and having the process in place. One of the things that we do, which is super important for you, those that have an employee or when you first get your first employee, you probably think, I just need somebody to help me answer the phone and run the front office and do the filing. That's a revenue generating role. Okay, firstly, you're being freed up to focus on the high dollar priorities in terms of customer relationships or going after big clients or spending more time with your family. Thinking about those things, you can get somebody in here that there is never the notion of, you know what, I got all my files done, everything's logged in the system, I'm just going to check out Dr. Phil online right now while I wait for the phone ring. Revenue generating. Every role in your company, even your servers. If you're using servers, they go out and serve, they should have a stack of flyers, okay? They go out, serve the paper, wait a minute, there's 12 law firms in there. Let me just knock on the door and drop off a flyer, give them a coupon, or give them a discount for a free serve, or try, or some way to try them out. Same thing with that office manager, okay? There are clients that use you, and they haven't used you in years. One, you need to know who they are, and two, you need to have somebody pick up the phone and call them and find out why they're not using you. Who knows? Maybe an employee that did something bad that pissed them off. Maybe you pissed them off. Maybe they're not serving anymore. But these are the things that you can use that employee sending out flyers, picking up the phone and calling old customers, finding these opportunities. Okay? We train. We train a lot. And everybody in the company has a role doc that they created and is constantly going and living in terms of what they're doing in the role. And on top of that, we'll also pay for them, if they want a book, if they want to go to a seminar. As long as we can afford to do it, we will give them the tools that can help them be more successful in the role. It cuts down on the cost of, so it serves a couple purposes. One, if you've got all this knowledge base of what happens in a company living in one person's head, and they get hit by a bus on the way to work, okay? All this information is not available, okay? If you're struggling, you're in a bad place. So I'm trying to prevent us and you from being in a bad place. But two, it has everybody constantly looking about what's important for that. We're just going to call it the office manager role, okay? All right, so here's some of the other things that we do. And, in terms of benefits, and we couldn't do this at the beginning. And there are lots of ways that you can do this now, but we realized to attract and retain and keep the best employees, we've got to be competitive. Our main office is in Denver. You've got big tech companies and startups and all these things that have got tons of money, and they're lavishing employees with gifts and signing bonuses, and there was a time when they were giving them Porsches to join the company. I mean, craziness. Okay, we can't compete with that. But we do what we can. And same thing for you, each and every one of you. I'm not saying go out and buy somebody Porsche. I'm saying find a way to add value to that employee. Help them. Think about them. And, we try to become champions at that. We also offer benefits. And we just upped it. All of our insurance rates went up. We were covering 50% of our health. Now we cover 60% to make it an easier blow on health, vision, dental. We pay for a health savings account. We contribute to them if they have a health savings account. This is from the highest end insurance that's offered out there. We offer Friday lunches, snacks in the office, outings. We had yoga at one point, and not everyone was doing it, so we stopped. But I want to bring it back. We've got a nice office. We're constantly thinking about things that we can do to make every single day not seem like it's work. Okay? Not seem like it's work. We want to try and keep it fun. So these are things that we think about, and we're constantly looking for ways we can add value. We thought about bringing washers and dryers into the offices so that people can bring their clothes in. And we're open. We'll try anything to make their lives easier because we want to keep them. We don't want to keep them happy. And so this is going to seem shocking. Okay, sounds crazy when you see it says it there. We roll out the red carpet. And we pay employees to leave. We give them a bonus to leave. Sounds stupid, right? Okay? This is one of the best things we've ever done. And that story that I told you in the back, that's not a story. I mean, it's a story, but it's a true story. Okay? This quitting bonus would alleviate that. Because what we asked for in this quitting bonus, and trust me, our account hates writing that check. I love it because it gets somebody out of the company that doesn't want to be there, and I don't want anybody there that's not invested in the company. Okay? When we have it, we ask for a 30-day notice so that somebody just doesn't send a text in the middle of the night because we've had that. People will just send a text, show up, I'm out of here, see ya. And when you're a small company, everybody is important. Every single person, even our company, every single person is important. Okay, we can't afford to have that. It's a little bit easier because we've now got some overlap. But when you're small and starting off and it's your first employee and they're doing a lot, you're dead in the water. Okay, so we ask for a 30-day notice. Okay, we ask for a role description doc, if they weren't working on it along the way. If we want them to, if we like it, and we trust them to do it, we ask them to help with the training of the new applicant, the hiring and the training of the new applicant. And then we ask for a release, a legal release. If they're not going to sue us, they're not going to disbarge us, whatever that they're going to do or not going to do. Like I said, this is pretty important in California. In Colorado, it's not important. In Texas, it's probably not as important. This is super important for us. So this is our hiring process, and this is what we do to help attract and retain and keep these employees. And these are things we go through. As shocking as this last thing may sound, this is single-handedly one of the best things that we have done to help mitigate that walking in one day and work having to stop or not being able to go on your dream vacation, because somebody doesn't have the consideration and the kindness and the thought to give you some notice and realize that there's something bigger than themselves, okay? And so you now have it, you have the tools. I'm going to turn this over for questions, and before I do that, I just want to say, myself and my colleagues are in the back, outside the exhibition hall, in the exhibition room out here. Come over and ask any questions. I'll have business cards as well if you have any specific questions. If you have questions for the group just after this. But this is really something that is super important as you embark on this. We've been down this. As you get ready, you pick up the phone and you call us. If you have a question about the process, if there's something you want us to share with you, we will do that. So we are here to help. I don't care if it's this year, next year, 5 years down the road. You pick up the phone and call us, and you say, "Oh, I remember you talked about this process." I'm sure it'll be even more refined by the time we get there. But we want to help you. We want to save you the 14 years that it took us to get to this point to learn all these things, so you can start right at the beginning, at a go, and get the best employees that can help you grow your business. So, questions?
For the quitting bonus, do you just do a straight percentage of their salary, or do you just have a fixed amount?
Yeah, so for everyone that didn't hear, there was so it's pretty much a fixed amount, although depending on the level of employee, it can be higher if they were at in a different role. And it's usually just going to be a sense, it's usually $50,000 and up, depending on what it is, depending on the role. Yes, sir. Trevor.
When you mention that it's the best thing you've done on the quitting bonus, is it because when you initially hire the person that they're seeing this, so they know well in advance that it's in their best interest to give you the notice and give the training because they know that's coming? It's like the incentive to stay. Is that what you were alluding to?
Yeah, great question. So it's actually in that first call, in that first 15-minute call that we have with them, when we say we take the hiring process very seriously, this is a two-way street, we're interviewing you just as much as you should be interviewing and testing us. A testament to that is we pay a quitting bonus if you want to quit. Okay, because we don't want anybody here that doesn't want to be here. So it's an incentive. We want to incentivize them that they know that at the onset, so that they can manage their time accordingly. And it's all so that we're not just blindsided, at the end. So they all know it. Yes, sir.
Is there a paper that you have them sign, agree to these time, to like 30 days or whatever, if they do decide to leave the company?
So good question. So we do not ask them to commit to that 30-day notice. And I don't know legally if you can do that, especially in the state of California. In terms of, it's a right to work state. You can pretty much, do what you want as the employee. And even employment contracts aren't even really binding in the state of California. So we don't, and even if I don't even think we could in California, but it's just something kind of unwritten. And we have people that don't take advantage of it, and I'll tell you, we're going through that right now. We have somebody that didn't take advantage of it, and it is frustrating because you've got to stop what you're doing and jump on this, which is really the last thing. You're busy running your business, and all of a sudden you get blindsided by this. I would check with your counsel if you were going to implement something like this and see if that's something you could write in.
I used to work for Exxon, and they had one you had to sign a statement that you wouldn't give them the notice.
So what he said is he used to work for Exxon, and that they had an agreement you had to sign that if you were going to leave, you had to give them notice with a certain amount of time. Which makes sense. Especially you've got servers out in the field that are employees and non-independent contractors, and they've got their routes and schedules and all these papers backed up. That can be, sure, you can probably jump in and you can find somebody else to cover them, but there's a number of these situations where somebody just walking in and saying, I'm out, it's going to leave you in a pretty bad place. Any other questions? Right. Okay, so here's my contact information, and there's my email, business cards out in the back. I am new to Twitter, and so, believe it or not, I am. What I will tell you, and in our company, we've had Twitter, we've had all the social media handles for years. You know, in fact, we even have one called Tweet Law, which is, you know, for the entire legal industry. I'm new. However, what I share on there are the tools and the tips that we're using to help grow our business. So, you know, a little selfless plug for myself, but I'm constantly, the articles that I'm reading and the things that I think that are interesting to help grow business and marketing and tools and tips and books that I'm reading, I put them on there so that you can see them. And, you know, one other thing is, you know, if you haven't done so already, come on back and, you know, come see us outside if you have any questions. There's a number of other things that we're doing to help with education, help you be a better process service organization owner. You know, as Ms. Burrow mentioned, you know, we're constantly writing articles, giving tools and tips to help you with that. I'm going to leave you with one last thing, and this is kind of, you know, indicative of the respect and the importance of these employees, and this is a quote that we have, and you know, it's an indication of something bigger than ourselves. We can't do it alone. We realized that we needed to bring in terrific people to help us. Eventually, we may get to that point where we need that as well. So we'll do with a little quote, and thank you very much.